today I'm going to be working on a dress that I've picked up from a charity shop. It was just a few pounds. It was actually not in my size, but I really liked the colour and I quite like the satiny finish that it has. I'm not going to do too much work on it. It actually fits quite nicely around the hips, which I'll show you in just a moment. So it's just mainly around the top section that is too big for me. Also, I don't really wear spaghetti straps very often, so what I'm going to do is I've found a scrap of fabric just in my selection that I've used for a previous project, and I'm just going to make some new straps out of this flowery fabric, just give it a bit of something different. There are some videos around on YouTube for really professional ways of finishing and making clothes. I'm more of a hobby sewer, so I might not do it to the most professional finish, but hopefully it's got a few ideas that you can work on yourself, you can copy if you're a bit of a beginner sewer like me. So I've put the dress on inside out, and what I'm going to do is just start pinning to where I want the new seams to be. Because this doesn't have any zips and I'm not putting any fastenings in, don't want to make it too tight. I do like a slightly looser fit on it. I've laid it out in front of me nice and flat, so what I'm going to do is just using my trusty tape measure is I'm going to measure from the seams here just to make sure that I'm taking in the same amount on both sides. I've put the pins just a little bit further in on one side, so I'm just going to balance those out. The other measurement that I need to do is just from the bottom pin where I'm going to rejoin the seam all the way down to the hem, and to make sure that that's set the same on both sides. So as you can see, I've just made a mark for myself of where I'm going to take it in on both sides and turn the pins so they are going across the line. What I'm going to do now is just very carefully unpick this seam, so we're getting rid of this worked edge here, just so that we're working with flat fabric rather than all this gathered fabric here. It's just going to make it a bit easier to make sure that everything's flat and where it needs to be. So using my sharp fabric scissors, as you can see, all I've done is cut off this extra thick part where it's been overlocked. So I've just got two much flatter, easier pieces of fabric to work with. So I'm going to jump on the sewing machine now, get this sewn up, and what I'll do is I will try it on before we cut any of the excess fabric away. As you can see, it's just a much more streamlined fit. Still got a bit of room, I can get in and out of it without needing a fastening, but it's still quite a relaxed style dress. I'll neaten up the seams on the inside, just trim them down. Just use my scissors here just to tidy up the edges, just on both sides. And then what I've done is I've used my quick unpick just to pull the old straps out of the hem here. I didn't want to cut it because it would just leave a small piece sticking up, so I just need to do that for all four. So I've ironed my fabric, I've unpicked the straps, so I'm just going to lay them on top and measure. What I've done is left a couple of inches just at the end here to make sure that I'm allowing for seam allowances, because we're going to have to tuck some of the straps into the dress itself, so that's just allowed for a little bit extra. This design actually has some natural straight lines through it, so I'm going to use that to help me cut. I'm going to use the pattern twice, so that once I fold it and I've lost the seam allowance, it's going to be a nice square piece that I can use. So I'm just going to mark that out for myself, and I'm going to make sure that I cut to the same size. I've got the two pieces of fabric that I'm going to be using, and then I'm just going to fold them so that they're right sides together, and I'm going to iron the crease just to make sure that I've got a nice sharp edge. So now I've got two strap pieces that are folded and ironed down to give a nice clean edge. So I'm just going to sew along, leaving a generous seam allowance. So I've got my two strips They're both sewn down the edges. What we need to do is turn them so we've got the right sides facing out. So once you've done that, you should have 2 tubes with the seams all on the inside. I'm going to iron these flat. I'm actually going to put it so that the seam is on the back. So when it's sat on my shoulder, the seam will be flat against my skin rather than to either of the sides. So I've ironed those flat, so you've got the seam on one side, you've got a flat other side, and then I've just tucked the raw edges up inside and I've ironed that flat as well. So I'm just going to sew all the way around to keep those in place. Pin the straps onto the dress. What I did is I pinned them onto the back, then I put the dress on and pulled the straps over forwards to the front. I then just pinned them and just kept adjusting it until I was happy with the fit. So once you've got it pinned and you've taken the garment back off, you're going to do a chalk line where you want to have the seam, and then you're going to put the 2 right sides together. So the way I did it was I folded the fabric over, so now I've got a nice seam, unpinned it and pinned it right sides together here, and then just check that the line that you've created matches up to the one that you've created with chalk. So I've just folded this fabric over, and then I'm going to fold it and check that it's going in the same direction as my chalk line. So I'll turn this over. And I'm just going to sew along here. It's really nice and close to the edge. And that's created a nice clean seam on the outside. Once I've done both the front ones, just make sure I'll try it on, just adjust the back at all if needed and do the same there. So you can see I've attached the straps. So I'm just going to attach a bit of the same fabric just around the bottom hem. So I've cut a long strip of fabric. So what I'm going to do is I will pin right sides together starting at the seam, and I'll sew that all the way around. I just want maybe half an inch, so I'll sew along here. And we're going to fold this under, and we'll sew it again from the other side to hold it all in place. So I tucked the remaining fabric up onto the inside and just sewed around the final hem and tied off any remaining fabric. Hope you've enjoyed this video and found it helpful. Do leave any questions or comments down below. See you next time.